Imagine that you're standing by the edge of a swimming pool, by the deep end, looking over the water. The water looks cold. You hesitate about whether to get in or not. Your mind races with lots of different thoughts. What if the water's too deep? What if I can't swim properly? What if everybody watches me drown? So you stand there on the edge of the water, just watching, waiting to be ready. Then what? What do you do? You've heard of the term fight or flight, but in this particular scenario, you are no longer fighting or flying. You are in freeze mode, preparing yourself and debating to yourself whether you should or shouldn't. And how long you stay in this mode tells you how you deal with your fears. Because when you have a fear keeps you on the sidelines. Fear convinces you that it's not worth taking the risk. Fear stops you from taking any action in your life. But how you navigate this fear tells you a lot about how well you know yourself. Because when you think about the water, if you have a fear of water or swimming in water, then your mind will automatically think about all the negative things that are going to happen in the future. It's not determined yet, we are preempting what will happen. And when you think about stepping into the water, you are thinking about lots of different things, the unknown variables. You don't know how well you'll swim in the water, you don't know how deep the water is, and you don't know the struggles you might be facing when you're in the pool. But there are ways you can manage your fears and overcome every single situation you are faced with. Hi, my name is Emily, and today I'm going to show you how changing your mindset can really help you take small steps to overcome your fears. I normally work with people who have a fear of speaking in public, but I realised that the feeling of having any fear is actually universal. And until we remove ourselves from the freeze zone or remove our fears or learn how to manage them, we will always be stuck and we will always live unfulfilling lives. Fear is a natural biological response, and it's tied into the fight or flight system in our body, which is controlled by the amygdala, the part of our brain where it's responsible for protecting us from any danger or threats. So the brain tells the heart that it should pump more blood around the body so it can prepare us so we can run away and be safe from any immediate dangers. But here's the thing, the brain doesn't really distinguish what is an immediate real danger compared to the imagined fears that we create for ourselves. For example, being scared of delivering a presentation on stage isn't the same as being scared when you're being chased by a tiger, but your brain doesn't distinguish the differences between those two scenarios. Your body will give you the same physical sensations. Your hands will be sweaty, your heart will be racing, and you'll be overthinking what you're going to be doing in the next couple of seconds. This is where fear clouds our judgment because our brain is trying to keep us safe. Your body is having the same physical sensations and it's thinking about how you can overcome the situation. You're overthinking everything you're doing possible to keep yourself from harm. And in those moments where we are thinking about how to get out of the situation, we aren't taking any action. And we're not taking any action, we are stuck in that freeze zone. But when we learn to change our mindset around that fear, we are then able to take a step back and focus on how we can overcome that obstacle. Fear isn't just an emotion. It's a mindset, and if you let that fear in, the fear will allow you to second guess yourself. It will allow you to hesitate on every single action you take. I truly believe that your beliefs shape your actions. So if you think you're not a good speaker, automatically you'll have low confidence, you'll avoid those speaking opportunities, and you'll mumble through your words. But if you change your mindset and you tell yourself that you have something valuable to share, then you're already believing in yourself, you're already trusting that process, and therefore it will give you a lot more confidence. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Start asking yourself, what if I succeed? What if my voice inspires someone? What if my thoughts lead to bigger opportunities? The way you reframe those thoughts allows you to think about changing the way you show up for yourself. The key to overcoming any fear isn't about eliminating the fear or to get rid of the fear completely. It's being able to understand how to work with it. If you think about fear, it's you versus fear. And if you let the fear win, it will always win. But if you think about the fear being a very small pebble on the floor that you can step over, then you are winning in that process. But to make the fear so small, the first step is to really be able to recognize that fear. You have to acknowledge the fear and not push the fear away. Once you know you have that fear, then you have the power to change how you're feeling and how big that fear is. But if you know you have a fear and you don't do anything about it, nothing will change. 10 million people in the UK have a fear, according to the NHS. That's everybody living in London. The top 3 phobias in the UK are heights, public speaking, and then snakes, whilst in America it's snakes, heights, spiders, and then public speaking. It was really interesting when researching this that a lot more people have a phobia of public speaking than I thought. In fact, 23% of Americans and 22% of Brits have a phobia of public speaking. And I know having a phobia is very different to being scared of something. When you have a fear, you feel uncomfortable, you feel on edge, you feel nervous, you might have some adrenaline. But when you have a phobia, it completely paralyzes you. Just having the thought of that fear sends shivers down your spine. We never want our fears to develop into a phobia. We don't want to think of our fears and freeze up. Because this is when fear is stopping us. Fear is stopping us from trying. Fear is stopping us from growing. And fear is telling us to give up. To be able to tackle and manage our fears, we can't see our fears as a roadblock. We have to be able to navigate them in some way. And this is where most people stop when they think about their fears. They say, nope, I can't do it. They ignore it, it goes away until the next time they come across the same fear. We have to be able to communicate to ourselves that having a fear is an opportunity for us to grow. It's a way to challenge ourselves. We might not be able to overcome the fear straight away, but by changing our mindset, we are already thinking about how we can overcome and address the fear itself. We can plan ahead, think of all of the steps we need to put in place so we can tackle the fear bit by bit. Let's go back to the image where you're standing by the poolside and you have a fear of getting into the water. It would be very difficult for you to get rid of all of the water in the pool just because you had a fear of getting into the water, and it wouldn't be fair to the people who are already in the water enjoying the pool. So what can you do in this situation? Because at the moment we are in the freeze zone and fear thrives on inaction. Fear loves for us to be standing by the pool waiting all day and night. But we're not going to do that, not today. We are going to find a way to navigate ourselves around this situation. And the great thing is there are so many ways to solve this problem. In this world, there are problems and there is a solution to every single problem. If you want to heat up food, you've got the cooker, you've got the oven, you've got a microwave, or you can put it on a campfire. If you want to travel, you can walk, take a car, bus, train, or fly. If we need help, we can read a book, ask someone, or Google it. All we are doing is problem solving. We have an issue, which is the fear, and we want to resolve the issue the best that we can. Whatever fear you have, just remind yourself that there are many ways to solve this problem. And when we think about going back and standing on the edge of the water, depending on how big the fear is and what your approach might be, there are many ways for you to get into that water. For some people, they might just run and jump into the water. This is the quickest way. For others, they might sit beside the pool, dip their toes into the water and just observe other people around them. For others, it might be that they go around the pool, they get into the shallow end and then swim to the deep end. And if you're scared about swimming in the water, you might use armbands or a float or a lilo. No matter how you approach the water, you still got into the water, and this is how you win. You know yourself the best, and I know for a fact that I'm not a run and jump person. I like to just sit by the pool and dip my toes in to see how cold the water is. On other days, I might walk around the pool and start in the shallow end and swim to the deep end of the pool. And it's the small steps that you take from A to B, and this process may take a while for some people. It might take a few minutes, it might take a few days, a few weeks, or even a few months or years. I know that when I work with people who have social anxiety or have a fear of speaking in public, when we work out their worries, it comes down to these 3 things. Number 1, it's the fear of being judged. What happens if people say this or that about me? Remember, people aren't focused on you as much as you might think. They care more about your words rather than how perfectly you say the words. And it's about having that shared connection between you and the audience. I talked more about the shared connection in my other video here, How to Talk to Anyone. Number 2, the second fear about speaking in public is having mistakes. What if I forget what I say or stumble over my words? Even the best speakers make mistakes, and instead of thinking about perfection, think about being genuine, being yourself when you're speaking to others. And if you lose your train of thought, just pause and breathe, and then the thought will naturally come back to you, because when you breathe, it calms the nerves and it clears the mind. Number 3, the third fear about speaking in public is the unknown. What if I don't know what to say when a person asks me a question, or I'm not sure how the audience is going to react when I finish delivering my speech? The more you prepare, the less unknowns there are. If you know your topic and you've prepared for your speech, then it's about visualizing your success. That way, you feel like you have more control. Once you've gained that confidence, you might want to challenge yourself a bit more and think about speaking to an auditorium filled with hundreds or thousands of people. But we can't go from not speaking at all to then speak to 1,000 people in an auditorium, because the gap will be too big, and this is where the fear comes in. It's all about taking those mini steps to overcome those fears, really challenging yourself to take a step at a time. But to be able to truly move past our fear, it's not just about taking action, but to recognize ourselves in the process and rewarding ourselves afterwards. When we go back to the image of getting into the water, we have to be able to recognize and celebrate our progress. We might say phrases like, yes, I did it, I got into the water. Or if we were to say a speech, we might want to say, yes, I said the speech and I was confident. When we celebrate our tiny actions that we've taken, especially those actions towards our own fears, then this is where the real progress begins. all that progress that you made from thinking about your fear, thinking about how you're going to get into the water, and then actually getting into the water is you stepping out of your comfort zone. So when you acknowledge it, you are stepping out of your comfort zone. You're training your brain and rewiring your brain to think that what you are doing is a good thing, and you're building up that confidence. And by celebrating your wins, this is what keeps you motivated to do it again, because your brain recognizes that this particular action is not related to fear anymore. You're training yourself just like you're training a dog to learn a new trick. By rewarding yourself afterwards, you recognize that this thing that you've done is part of success. We talked about the freeze zone earlier, and now we've talked about the comfort zone. We want to always be in the growth zone, because the growth zone is where the fear disappears. If you avoid the fear will grow stronger. But if you step into the fear, no matter how uncomfortable you feel, you will prove to yourself that you can actually face your fears. Now that you know how to change your mindset around your fears, I want to challenge you to write down all of your fears, no matter how small they are, and then be able to work through all those fears one at a time. If your fear is being afraid to speak to people, then your task might be that you introduce yourself with confidence to a person that you don't particularly know that well. Tick it off and reward yourself. And what I want you to do is go back to the same fear and tick it off 2 more times, because I want you to notice how you felt the first time when you were doing it compared to the last time you were doing it. Were you more confident? Remember to start small, and then you can change your goal to a bigger one as you move forward. So after you've introduced yourself, the next goal might be sharing your thoughts in a meeting, and then you can grow from there. The more you expose yourself to these situations, the more natural it will feel. Fear always wants to keep you safe, but progress only happens when you push beyond it. Let me know in the comments below what your fears are and what you're going to do to address those fears. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if this video resonated with you.